Hi everyone, I am Sarah Michel, and this is another weekly challenge to God. To those who are unfamiliar, the weekly challenge to God is a live stream that I do every week or so, excuse me, where I challenge God to provide any evidence that He exists. Now, I am just a puny human and I don't believe in God. And I challenge him that in how all his omnipotence, he provides any sort of verifiable demonstration of his power and puts an end to atheism. There will be no atheists if he just provides any sort of evidence. So far, this is my 21st challenge. God hasn't been able to fulfill it. So the count so far has been 20 to me, 0 to God. And before I start on this week's topic, I want to welcome all of you who are my recent subscribers. Thank you so much. In fact, I want to thank each and every single one of you who subscribes to my channel. Your support means a lot to me. Thank you very, very much. Okay, let's start on today's topic, which is deism. Now, my objection to deism is purely philosophical, because I think the deistic position is flawed, is philosophically flawed, as it commits a fallacy of special pleading. What leads people to believe in deism is they cannot fathom the mechanistic interpretation of the world that us atheists have, that the universe is completely explicable, or we believe that the universe can be completely explicable simply through scientific observation, through the scientific method and exploration of matter. We don't believe there is anything beyond matter because we simply have no reason to believe in such thing. Now, the deist usually objects, and I think in part is because of a cognitive need for closure, and perhaps some people might have a stronger need for closure than some others. And the belief in a God, in this sense, as a creator of the universe, as a creator of life, gives them this closure that us atheists don't really have. For us, we simply can accept that. Now, I just got a comment from Neo Sinusin. Sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly. That the existence of God can neither be proven nor disproven. Now, that is precisely my objection to deism. It is an unfalsifiable position. Now, the idea is that you have a regressive chain of causality where you need a first cause. Now, the problem is, the argument is everything has a cause. You cannot have, there is no way to explain how things occur without going on a chain of causality all the way to the beginning. Everything needs to have a cause, except for a supposed first cause, because the deist cannot fathom that the chain of causality is infinite. It needs to have a beginning. Now, the problem, of course, that this is a self-pleading, special pleading fallacy. Now, the only way to get around that is to assign special qualities to this first cause, either an agent or whatever it is, and then call it God. Just say this first cause has to be God. Now, what makes it so special that it doesn't need a cause is because it's omnipotent and eternal and immaterial. Well, when you give these properties to this first cause, it becomes an unfalsifiable claim. I cannot disprove that this God exists because it's immaterial. I cannot perform any sort of experimental test to do so. Now, the problem, of course, is I have no reason to believe then that it exists, because the same way I cannot disprove, it cannot be proven. Now, in my view of the world, according to my epistemology, I don't believe in things unless I have good evidence to support my belief. Since I have no evidence to support the belief in the God of Deism, I simply see no reason to believe in it. And that is my philosophical problem with the proposition of the deistic proposition. But I understand that it might have an important psychological effect. I think some people, they cannot. The question, I think the difference is how we ask things. I think the atheist is more interested in understanding how things work due to our more mechanistic view of the world, while the deist is more interested in why things exist. Usually they ask, why do I exist? Why is there something instead of nothing, for example? And this is the type of question that not having an open answer can be a little bit disturbing and can be a problem psychologically and make life meaningless. I think in one way is the belief in this deity is a way to avoid going through a path of cynicism and just become a complete nihilist and deny life, which I think the deist believes that a mechanistic interpretation of the world would lead to. Now, of course, this can provide a psychological comfort, and I understand that, and I think there might be a need for some people to believe in God. And as long as it's a deist God, a God that does not provide religion, that is not in, simply putting, it's not a cosmic dictator as the theist gods, I have no problem with that whatsoever. And I'm fine if what we have in the future, if we ever be able to get rid of religions, is this belief in in deism. I'm perfectly fine with that, and I think it might actually be necessary to some. The same as the belief in an afterlife, which I'm not going to talk about today. So I understand. My rejection to deism, as I said, is purely philosophical. And when it comes to the psychological reasons for the belief in a deity, in this case, I really have no objections, and I understand that it might be necessary to some. And it's simply a different interpretation of things. My interpretation of reality is mechanistic, and some people reject that, some people don't understand that, and in the end, neither of my claims regarding the origin of the universe and neither of the deistic claims about the origin of the universe can be either proven or disproven. So it becomes simply a matter of believing or not believing, or whatever you want to put it. I think atheism is a sort of belief, is the belief that there is no God. But anyway, that was what I had to say about deism. Before I finish, I want to just talk a little bit about pantheism, because I think pantheism is extremely incoherent, and I have an issue with pantheism because I just think it's such a silly idea, and I'll explain why. The pantheist is kind of similar to the deist with the difference, of course, that the pantheist believes that everything is God. God is everything, is in all things. Now, the problem with that is that if everything is God and everything is divine, then nothing is divine. Divinity means something that is outstanding, something that is completely extraordinary and out of everything that we can imagine to be possible. Now, if everything is divinity or divine, it's a superlative term. it needs to be compared with something. You can only say that something is divine if you compare to everything else that isn't divine. Otherwise, the word divine is meaningless. If everything is divine, it's the same as saying that nothing is divine. And if nothing is divine, and you don't believe in a immaterial deity, whatever, then you are basically an atheist. So pantheism is simply atheism painted with some more colorful words, but essentially it's the same thing. It's that there is no God. If everything is God, then God doesn't exist. It's essentially the same. And that's why I think it's a completely incoherent proposition. But anyway, as the challenge goes, or as the experiment goes, as I like to say, because this is an experiment, and I got another false negative. Another true negative. God hasn't showed up, hasn't provided any evidence. And as has been with my previous challenges, the final report is God doesn't exist. And I will still say this until I get a positive, until God provides any evidence. Until then, still an atheist. I've been Sarah Michel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.